Welcome everybody to today's session on promoting positive practices. We are focusing on STEAM this month, so science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Today's session, we are going to look directly at math and science in a couple weeks. So 2 weeks, we'll have our art session. So look out for our registration information for that in the follow-up email that comes with today's session. Good afternoon, Miss Tiffany. We're glad you can be here with us today. All right, so before we begin with, you guys can answer what, sorry, when you hear the words math or science, what is something that comes to mind, especially in early education? And you can either unmute yourself and share, or you can put it in the chat box. We have a pretty small group today, so when you guys hear the word math or science, what comes to mind?
Numbers.
Okay,
Say it again, I'm sorry.
you're good. So the question was, when you guys hear the words math or science, what comes to mind?
Projects with science, math with numbers.
Math,
Science.
science, numbers, great. Go ahead.
Science with bugs and outdoors and activities with bugs and other things.
I love that bugs is your answer. We have in the chat box exploration and experiments.
Mhm.
All right, so before we jump into content, just a couple of housekeeping things. So red line through the microphone, we cannot hear you, you are muted. No red line through the microphone means you are unmuted and we can hear you. Same goes with our video. Sorry guys, let me grab my water. So if you're able to have cameras on, lovely. We'd love to see your beautiful faces. If not, completely understand. I know a lot of you might be in classrooms right now with some sleepy kids. But if you are not able to engage with us verbally today, make sure you engage with us in the chat box. And so the little bubble with the 3 dots is our chat box. When you click on that, you will be able to message everybody in the group, or you can message myself privately. Okay, so today our objectives, we are going to define math and science and discuss their importance in preschool. And we're going to share maybe some wonderful activities that you guys already are including in your classroom to teach and incorporate math and science with your students. We're going to explore some strategies for teaching and incorporating math and science in the classroom, and then we're going to discuss and develop a plan for implementing those activities in everyday situations. So we'll start off first. Let's take a poll real quick. How often do you teach math and science skills in the classroom?
Every
Every
day.
day for me.
Okay.
Okay, got a couple every days. Anybody do it once a week or only during a specific month or not at all?
Math every day, but science probably once or twice a week.
Okay.
Same with my lesson plans.
Okay, so it sounds like math is pretty decent, and science is happening a couple times a week. That seems to be echoed in the chat box. Miss Casey says every day. Miss Tiffany says once a week. Miss Gloria says daily math in science is 1 to 2 times a week. Awesome. So it sounds like we've got a nice structure so far for incorporating these into our classroom. And we'll continue to challenge ourselves into thinking of different ways to continue to implement it with our students as well. Okay, so we have our early learning teaching practices. Oh, there's a typo on here. The early learning teaching practices for incorporating math and science are going to come under the supporting cognitive and language development. So this is a set of practices that we at the Early Learning Coalition created with the University of Florida Anita Zucker Center. It incorporates the class assessment and scoring system, which is the tool used for program assessments, as well as the pyramid model, TPOT, which is the observation tool for pyramid model practices, social emotional development, and then the Division of Early Learning recommended teaching practices. So, we incorporated all of those items to create this set of practices adopted from evidence-based research. And we know that when it's done as intended, it's going to promote those positive outcomes for children. So teaching practices are simply things that the teacher is going to say or do in the classroom. Teaching practices are enhanced by the implementation of math and science in the classroom. According to the Early Childhood Learning and Knowledge Center, math skills help young children connect ideas, develop those logical and abstract thinking skills. It encourages students to analyze, question, and understand the world around them. In addition, science is going to help children develop skills such as problem solving, communication, and research. Skills such as pre-writing are going to include language, vocabulary, and number sense begin the moment a child is born. So we can incorporate math and science in as young as infant age. And we'll briefly talk about that, and we'll look at some ideas of how to do that as well. When we as teachers and educators label or describe objects, we also might want to encourage children to explain their thinking on a new concept, or we might have to connect concepts to real-world experiences as we build those cognitive skills within our students. So this is going to incorporate those open-ended questions, making sure we're using a variety of words, teaching them new vocabulary, making those real-world connections. And then when we talk about specific feedback to understand new concepts, that's going to include those hints and scaffolding strategies to get children to understand the content that we're covering in our math and science lessons. So CLASS is the classroom assessment scoring system. Like I said earlier, this is going to be our observation tool used to look at high quality teacher-child interactions as well as child-to-child interactions. When we incorporate math and science into children's daily activities, this is going to help facilitate that early language support, that facilitation of learning and development, as well as concept development, in addition to enhancing those classroom scores. So math and science are going to be really helpful and important for us and the young children in our classrooms. And before we get started with some specific examples, we do want to create a definition. So science is going to be the process of learning about the natural world through observation and experimentation as we move through today's session. And science is going to require us to do a couple things. It's going to require us and our children to collect data and interpret it for significant patterns and make conclusions that further our knowledge. For example, in a preschool setting, this might look like mixing colors, baking, and making predictions. So asking questions like, what will happen if? And why does X, Y, and Z happen? These are going to lead to some open-ended questions that encourage language development. So either unmute yourself or put it in the chat box. What are one or two of your favorite science activities to do in your classroom?
Making Play-Doh.
They do like Play-Doh.
Making fossils and volcanoes.
Yeah, I was just saying volcanoes.
Volcanoes are fun too. Yeah.
And sometimes cooking like baking cookies and or making a cake if it's somebody's birthday. We do that.
Yeah. And that's going to incorporate math and science. Mixing
Right.
colors, using shapes to make art.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, all of the activities that include being able to eat something are usually a big hit too.
Right.
All right, so let's define math. So math is going to be defined for today as the study of numbers, shapes, patterns, quantity, and space. So fun fact, mathematics comes from the Greek word mathma, which means science, knowledge, or learning. Mathematics helps us to understand science and to design and conduct and analyze the results of those scientific experiments. So this might look like in a preschool setting, counting the number of children present at a circle time, making patterns such as boy, girl, and recognizing shapes in their environment, such as a circle clock on the wall. So thinking about incorporating math into your classroom, what are some of your favorite activities to use math with?
Well, for me, I do shapes. So I have them count the sides on the shapes and ask them how many, how many sides are on a shape.
Okay, so counting, shapes are also part of math. Thanks, Miss Sarah.
Okay.
I would give each one, like if I'm working with a small group, give them a card and they have to turn the card over and build with Legos. I'm saying not the Legos, those little cubes that you stack on one another.
Yeah.
You have to count out and stack them as well.
Okay. Some blocks or some Legos.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Gloria says counting snack. Tiffany says using Play-Doh to outline shapes. Playing math bingo.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some great examples. Thank you, ladies. So we know that when we incorporate math and science into the preschool setting, this is going to help us with a couple different things as far as positive outcomes are concerned, where this is going to help children develop their curiosity, their imagination, flexibility, inventiveness, and persistence. Both are also going to help children develop the essential skills they need to succeed in school and life. And then both are going to increase problem-solving skills, which influences social and cognitive development. Besides these three items, are there any other benefits or positive outcomes that you have noticed in children when we are teaching them math and science?
Can you repeat the question, Lexi?
Yeah. So besides these three outcomes, are there any other benefits or positive outcomes that you've noticed in children when you're teaching them math and science?
Their engagement helps promote really good social and emotional skills.
Yeah, absolutely. When they're engaged with their peers, with trying some fun experiments out, that is going to help develop their social emotional skills. Thanks, Ms. Gloria. And a lot of what we find with math and science too is if we are very intentional about it, it can be very hands-on, which is going to help create that higher levels of engagement with our students and allowing us to see also a decrease in challenging behaviors because they are engaged and they're testing things out. So we will see those decreased challenging behaviors with those higher levels of engagement. All right, so we're going to watch a 3-minute video here on why early childhood is the right time to start learning math. And so as you watch this video, just kind of pay attention, see if there's any information from the video that sticks out to you as important or something you didn't know. Let me double check, make sure I'm sharing my sound. I am. And we'll go ahead and start our video.
Some people would still say, though, that, okay, mathematics is good, but why do it in pre-K? Do you really need to do it that early? I mean, I didn't have mathematics in pre-K, and shouldn't a child just be left to do a child? Oh, yes, a child should be left to be children, certainly. You know what? Children like mathematics. Children see the world mathematically. Herb Ginsburg at Teachers College videotaped children when they were playing. They had no direction. Go play. Almost 50% of every minute of their play involved mathematics. It involved shapes, comparisons, enumeration, counting, comparing quantities, patterning, measurement, something in mathematics, just in their play. Kids like mathematics. They see the world through these kind of pre-mathematical lenses. They might not think of it as mathematics. They might not have the mathematical knowledge to pull it out. But we as adults can look at it and say, they're just poised to do interesting mathematics. So when we do a puzzle, when we count things, when we see who's got more or who's taller, when we say, how many of those did you do? How many blocks did you put on top of each other? You know, when you made this building, why did you make this side of the building look just like that side of the building? In other words, a symmetric building that kids might make. We're bringing the mathematics out of kids' everyday activities. Kids like mathematics. Now you still might say, yeah, but historically, kindergarten and pre-K, it was just play and socialization. No, you'd be wrong again. Let's look at the person who invented kindergarten. His name was Frederick Froebel. And more than 100 years ago, he created kindergarten. It was his invention. Everything those kids did was geometric. Those teachers who have ever taken a course in early childhood may have heard of Froebel and may have heard of his gifts and occupations. Well, his gifts were tiles, they were shape sets, they were building blocks, they were parquetry blocks, they were grids on tables, they were three-dimensional solids, and his occupations were build up these kind of three-dimensional solids to make certain kind of buildings, make a symmetric design, copy this design, extend that design, create a pattern. These were the kind of gifts and occupations that formed the original kindergarten. Froebel was a crystallographer, and he believed that God was in the details of geometric objects. And he used that as a foundation for his kindergarten. Ever since then, the building blocks that we now see ubiquitous across kindergartens and first grades and preschools and the like, those were designed as teachers. All you have to do is think about it to know they've got a unit block and a double that and a double that and a half this and two triangles that make this block and everything else. They were designed to provide interesting experiences for children. Unfortunately, with some history going, as the years went by, the math kind of got downplayed. And we still think kids should play with blocks, but we've forgotten a lot of why the blocks were designed that way. Good curricula should help teachers get back to the roots that play and mathematics are not on opposite sides of the stage. They can be combined to the benefit of children everywhere.
All right, so after watching that video, was there any content that you felt was important to hear that maybe is something new for you?
I just like this emphasis on how children have always been learning through play. And of course, in early childhood, for years, they thought because of play, we're just babysitters, that we're not actually teaching children anything, you know, not understanding that that's how, children learn. That's the first steps of their learning is through play, being able to engage with their environment and their peers, touching things hands-on. Because they can't read yet. Some of them can't even, know really what numbers are or what shapes are, and that's how we introduce it and teach it to them.
Yeah, absolutely, through play. Sorry, go ahead, Susanna.
What I thought was interesting, and I never realized, and it's totally true, 50% of their play involves math. That's extremely powerful. So we need to be more intentional when we do things with them, you know. Really like the concept.
Yeah, 50% of every minute is involves mathematics, which is wild, you know,
Insane. You're
Yeah.
right.
shapes and counting, patterning, measuring, and they don't look at it as math. They look at it as play, like Gloria was talking about, creating those very intentional play-based moments to incorporate math and science, not as a worksheet, not as a flashcard, but how do we incorporate that within the centers and our circle time and our small group time, so that it is more hands-on and it is more of a learning experience for them. Any other thoughts on the video?
No.
All right, thank you guys. Good to hear. Thank you, Sarah, for agreeing with Gloria there. All right, so we're gonna do 2 smaller breakout rooms, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna share some of our current favorite ways that you support math and science in your daily classroom activities and routines. Maybe what are some of the successes that you've had incorporating math and science, or what do you find challenging to incorporate math and science? So let me get the breakout room set up real quick, and we're going to do 2, and that will put about 4 in each group. We'll go into these breakout rooms for about 5 minutes. And so we're discussing a couple things. What are some ways that you incorporate math and science? What are some successful activities that you use pretty regularly? And then what are some challenges for implementing math and science in the classroom? So group 1 is going to be Miss Deborah, Miss Evelyn, Miss Sarah, Miss Susanna. Group 2 is going to be Miss Gloria, Miss Casey, Miss Cartwright, and Miss Tiffany. You may, and I'll be kind of popping into the rooms in the 5 minutes just to kind of hear the discussion. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? So what's going to happen is as soon as I open the breakout rooms, it's going to pop up that I'm inviting you to join the breakout room. If you click join the breakout room, you will go ahead and join that room. I also have it set so that you can also be automatically pulled into the breakout room as well. But when you're ready to leave, there will be a blue button that says leave room. If you click that, make sure you click leave breakout room. If you click leave meeting, you will accidentally be kicked out of the whole Zoom and you'll have to rejoin us again. So we're gonna go 5 minutes on what your favorite activities are, successes and challenges with implementing math and science. All right, and so rooms are open now. Was there anything that came up with your group discussion that you found really interesting, or an idea from another one of your peers in your group that you would like to try out?
I like the idea of being reminded that, like, even making peanut butter and jelly, something as, really relaxed and easy as that, how you can turn it into a math and science activity. You can cut it in half, and then you have two, and you can cut those halves, and then you have four. So that was a really good reminder of that activity. And it's not anything that's, stressful or difficult. It's something fun that you can sit down and do with the kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Food's a great time to incorporate those ideas. Miss Sarah said everyone pretty much had the same ideas. I know I popped in on one of the breakout rooms, was talking about going outside and getting some rocks and sorting the rocks by shapes and colors, and counting the rocks. So it doesn't have to be this whole big expensive materials or items. You really can go outside and just get some rocks or get some sticks, and sort them from smallest to biggest, or shortest to tallest, depending on the sticks. You can talk about the shapes and colors and textures. All of those things are going to incorporate our math and science skills at this age group. Anybody else have any other ideas that they wanted to share? Okay. Well, it sounded like great group discussions, so I hope you guys are able to come away with something new. And so let's explore some strategies for teaching math and science. So our first one is going to be to plan and prepare. We want to think about what it is that we want the children to learn. So whether that's counting, patterns, shapes, colors, weather, or practicing their prediction skills. Then we're going to think about how we can make the skill fun and engaging so that the children will want to learn about it. Remember, children learn through play. Our next consideration, we want to be mindful of all of our modalities. So we want to think about the 5 senses and how we can incorporate each of them into science and math activities. So hands-on materials and experiments. We might have to create some visuals with cards or short videos. We would also incorporate auditory through books and songs. And then finally, movement. Maybe we have to do jump. Maybe we're going to jump 5 times, or maybe we're going to flap our wings 3 times, and they have to count it out loud. Okay, we're incorporating that movement. Consideration number 3, we want to create play-based activities. We really want to try and stay away from rote or recall learning as much as possible. So we know children don't look at learning as mathematics. They're just looking at it as play. And so if we are able to incorporate math and science into multiple areas of our day, we're going to make it so that it can be play-based. For example, like dramatic play. We have 4 friends and 3 plates of food. How many more plates of food do we need? For art, we are drawing circles. Which one's bigger, which one's smaller? Or we might say to the students, let's make some Play-Doh from scratch. And they have to measure and mix ingredients in order to make that Play-Doh. We can ask open-ended questions during the activity, such as, what do you think is going to happen next? Or even mixing paint to make different colors. Mixing paint is very in line with science. For lunch, How many goldfish do you have? Or maybe we create a pattern with crackers and cheese. Let's play with that food. If it's not going to create a huge mess, if it's not going to be a burden on somebody else, let's play with that food. Let's make some patterns. Let's count those crackers and cheeses and incorporate that into our lessons as well. And then outside, how do plants grow? What do they need to grow and live? So making sure that we are talking about sun and rain and air. We also might encourage mixing water and dirt to make mud, or we could even do some hopscotch on the sidewalk for counting. Okay. And then our fourth consideration here, we want it to be connected to children's interests and lives. So having children bring in an item from home that relates to what you're learning about that week, right? If we are learning about circles, maybe we have the children bring something round to school and share what they brought. We also might encourage them to explore their environment, both at the school and in the community, with possible field trips to further children's learning about topics such as clouds and bugs and shapes. Okay, we are going to watch another video. This one is really well done. It is another 3-minute video, but it talks about how to integrate math into daily activities. So as we watch this video, we're going to take notice of how the teacher integrates math into daily activities in an engaging way. So let me make sure my sound is shared. Yes. And let's make this bigger.
What kind of muffins? They're blueberry muffins. Does anybody know what shape their muffins are?
What shape is your muffin?
Square.
It is a square.
There are a lot of opportunities for engaging children in mathematics throughout the day. 2, 3, how many do we need now? 4. You have to step outside the box and think about taking math and using it so that it's something that's natural to them, but doesn't feel like they're being given a math test or specifically being taught math.
That snow is medium, and that snow is tall, and that snow is teeny tiny, and that snow is small.
We introduce math to our preschoolers in an environment that's fun.
6, 7.
So we do shapes, we do patterns, we do building with blocks. This morning we did an activity about Valentine's Day cards, but we integrated math in that activity by which heart is bigger, which heart is smaller. Would this red heart be bigger than your purple hearts or smaller than your purple hearts?
Big.
Bigger, that's right. When they're building with blocks, they're able to work balance in figuring out which block shapes can create a bigger structure or a smaller structure.
We count the dots on the half of the heart and then we match it with the number on this side.
Today we did an activity where we had number recognition and we used hearts to incorporate it into our weekly curriculum unit. Shall we count it together? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On one side of the heart was dots, and on the other side of the heart was a number, and so the children had to count the dots and then put them together and make a complete heart.
17, 18, 19, 20.
Good job. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to dump them all in a pile, okay? And we have to find all the squirrels.
What we did today was we used different color plastic plates, and then the children sorted the animals by color. So could they match the red squirrel to the red plate? Could they match the purple bat to the purple plate?
They actually do math in sorting the objects to put them away.
Let's see how many we have all together. 1, 2, 3.
We're gonna start out with a little bit of karate. Are you ready, guys?
1, 2, 2.
I think for children, picking up mathematical concepts through natural play experiences is something that is exciting for them. The things that are more natural to the children in their own environment is going to make it more concrete.
2, 2, 3.
All right, so any thoughts on any of the suggestions on integrating math into daily activities?
One of the things that came to mind is a lot of the things they were doing are things that that I already do every day. So it made me feel good that I am unconsciously doing math now. You know, it's just part of our everyday routine, math and science.
Yeah, I like how she did the karate. I never thought about that one. That was real nice.
Yeah, some nice movement with some counting.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I'm glad to hear that you're already incorporating yours, Gloria and Sarah. Miss Evelyn, you want to share something?
Yeah, in the 3 to 5-year-old class, they in the morning time they do like identifying shapes, the shapes and sizes, and the teacher asked them the question like, how many sizes in a square? Does circle have, size? And they in a hectagon. So I thought that was really interesting how she integrated that into her lesson in the morning time with the kids, teaching them their shapes and and all of that. That was really interesting to me.
Okay, yep, so learning about shapes, counting the different sides. Ms. Casey says she likes the manipulatives during both math and science. All right, good to hear, ladies. So you all kind of just kind of briefly talked to each other. We got some suggestions on teaching math and science activities. You guys are also going to receive a ton of resources. And so this is going to include a resource page. I can get it open so I can share it with you. So this is just a one-page document, but it does have a couple of different suggestions on finding more math and resources. So brain building in progress, resources for early learning. There's a link for that. YouTube from McGraw-Hill, pre-K to 12. It has some videos on integrating math and science. Early Science Matters and Early Math Counts. This is another free resource, so 2 links there. And then there is a book by Nacy. It does cost money to get it, but it is titled Exploring Math and Science in Preschool and Where is the Math? So you guys will, I'm going to drop that in the chat box right now. And you guys will also receive it in the follow-up email. But before we go, I'd like for everybody to just kind of pick one thing from today's session and either unmute yourself and share it or put it in the chat box. Just one thing about how you're either going to continue to integrate math and science or something new that you might want to try for your math and science activities within your classrooms or your centers.
One of the things that I was gonna work on with the kids this week are the colors of the rainbow, because St. Patrick's Day is coming up, and mixing colors to make those colors. You know, how do you, get those certain colors in the rainbow?
That's always fun. Color mixing is always fun, especially with painting. Thanks, Ms. Gloria. Ms. Casey said she liked incorporating physical movement. She could start doing maybe a simple morning exercise. Absolutely. Thanks, Ms. Casey.
Well, I go by whatever my curriculum has for us to do. It have counting in along with it. So whatever my book, now this week we're not doing too much because spring break, but the kids are just having fun today. Well, this week here, but we are still doing learning. But I really go by what my curriculum has for us to do. It has math and science as well.
Awesome. So it sounds like you're going to continue to implement your curriculum to integrate that math and science. Thanks, Miss Deborah. Any other last thoughts? All right, Miss Susanna said she's going to share her resources with her teachers, and Miss Sarah said she's pretty much going to do everything with math, maybe incorporating more science. Beautiful. All right, well, we are going to wrap up our session for today then. So we were able to define math and science. We were able to discuss why it's important. You all shared some strategies, and we looked at some strategies for preparing and teaching math and science. And then everybody has come up with at least one item that they're either going to continue to do or try out over the next couple of weeks. So this wraps up today's session. Let me stop sharing. I am going to pull the evaluation up in just a moment. While I pull that up, does anybody have any lingering questions, thoughts, or concerns?
I do not.
No, thank you. It was very good.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Okay, let me-
Great session.
So this is the evaluation link for today. So this is how you'll get your in-service hours. You'll complete the evaluation, whatever email address that you put on the evaluation, that is where your in-service certificate will automatically be emailed to you. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach back out to me. I'm happy to help with anything that I can. And we will send a follow-up email with the resources and this evaluation link in case you don't have time to look at it now. I'm going to stop our recording and I'm going to stay on for just a few minutes, but that is